Hey everybody, it's Jim here. Today, we're at the quarterfinals of the guitar tournament that I had randomly seeded by the computer in an effort to find which one would come out on top as my favorite guitar under these kind of odd conditions. 8 guitars to go, so that means we have 4 total matchups today. In case you missed any or you would like to rewatch any of the previous 2 videos where we started with 18 guitars, there will be links to those down below. But as it stands, this is how the bracket is looking right now. I'm going to continue with the same format of these matchups. Each guitar will be played for roughly 1 minute or so. I'm going to be using the same amplifier, the Tone King Gremlin, the same reverb pedal, which is the Source Audio True Spring, as well as any drives will be coming from the Brown Amplification Protein. Our first matchup today is a pretty interesting one, both vintage spec. We have the Fender JV Stratocaster ST57 from 1982 against the very modern Fender traditional 60s Jaguar. We're down to the really good stuff as far as the guitars that remain in this little tournament. I love this guitar. I really do. This is such a joy to play. It's great. I really think that this is a fantastic instrument. And one thing I really like about this, and Jaguars in general, you do get the option of cutting out some of the low end with the strangle switch, which is pretty nice, but I'm using a amplifier that typically leans on the brighter side of things with the Gremlin, so it's not something I take that much advantage of. But with that being said, with drive, I feel like this guitar does pretty well with it. Maybe not as good as the pink one that has the Lindy Fralin pickups in it. These are the stock pickups that came from the factory, but cleans, I think this is an impressive guitar, so much so that I haven't modified anything on it except for changing the strings. But picking between the two of them, outside a little rundown of this guy, the JV just has this thing to it, and it goes well beyond just value as far as what a guitar is worth and sentimentalness. This guitar, I only have 1 or 2 guitars that feel anywhere near as good as far as a vintage sense as this one, because that does have a vintage spec to it, but it feels like a modern instrument. This has a vintage spec to it. This feels, I mean, it is 42 years old at this point, but this feels incredible. The fret's got more life on that one. It's a little bit easier to play. This one's more of a fight, but this one's a bit more rewarding to play when you do nail it, and I love the neck pickup on a Stratocaster. So we're going to go with the JV as the winner of this round. Our next matchup is between 2 semi-hollow guitars, albeit very different in size. The 77 Albatross and the Gibson ES335. guitar always makes me want to play that style of music and that specific riff. I love that. It's great. I know that you're probably tired, of saying how great something is, but I'll try to find other words to describe these guitars. The neck on this is the biggest neck out of all the guitars that I have right now. It's definitely noticeable when you switch from this to any other guitar, and it kind of lends to a different style of playing. And you might think that I'm saying this as a negative right now, but I don't feel that way. I really believe that how a guitar feels in your hands can bring out different styles of play to you. And obviously this being the bigger body, it gets a bigger sound to it. I think that it doesn't get too boomy, and perhaps with an amp more accommodating for it than the Gremlin, I do not think that these two are an ideal pair whatsoever. I'll be able to get more out of this instrument. But as it stands, I'm going to talk about this 77 just for a second before we get to our decision here. This thing sings. See, I didn't say it's great. It's got this natural acoustic voice to it. It is tiny. Even just switching between the two of these is absolutely tiny, but I don't feel like there's a big difference as far as the output of the volume of them when I'm just sitting and playing them unplugged. This is such a resonant and articulate guitar. I play this one almost in like a songwriter-ish way. Like I don't approach this guitar in the same way that I do any other guitar that I have, and that's very uncommon. But that being said, the craftsmanship of this is as good as anything in the room, if not better. And the neck on this is to die for. The only guitar that's not a Fender that has this style of neck on it that comes close to it is the R9. And strangely enough, if things end up on the bracket the way that they could, we might be seeing this guitar against that Gibson Les Paul 1959 reissue in our next matchup. Because of the two of these, this would be my favorite. Speaking of the devil, the next matchup has the Gibson R9 in it, and it's going up against the Cory Wong Stratocaster. I realized those two riffs didn't exactly stay in key. I just wanted to hear it with dirt on the bridge pickup. of an unfair matchup in the sense that it's a Les Paul that I was just playing with a whole bunch of beef and dirt behind it gets single coil Stratocaster. But I'm going to say this. That first riff on the Strat, it ain't going to sound like that on this, and it ain't going to sound like that on pretty much any other single coil guitar that I have. It's so cool. I don't even know if I want to try it on this guitar. It's just so bouncy. It's just got this tone to it that only that guitar and similar guitars to it can get. Yeah, it's not even close. It's not even close. So it's kind of like different tools for the job. As awesome as this thing sounds big and with gain on it, that thing is fantastic clean and for rhythm work, which is what I primarily play. With that being said, if I had to choose a favorite between the two of them, this is actually harder than I thought it was going to be, because I really like that guitar. I'd still go with this one. I'll go with the Gibson R9, leaving us with the one matchup that I saved till the end, because I don't want to do it, because I still don't know how this is going to go. The JV Telecaster against the American Vintage 65 Jazzmaster. I saved this one for last because I didn't want to have to decide between these two guitars. I'm going to do my best not to waffle too much, although you're kind of used to that if you're watching all these videos, especially the long form ones such as this. This is as good as you're going to get for a vintage style Telecaster, period. It really is. One thing I really like about this Telecaster that I don't find with many other Telecasters might have to do with just the sheer age of this guitar, and it has nothing to do with the playability or anything like that, but the actual pickups themselves. They're fairly microphonic, and it adds this extra character and brings out extra nuance in my playing, almost like in this really unique way that I find so endearing. And it doesn't work for every situation. For example, if I were to put on a higher gain pedal or play it through the Friedman amplifier with gain at a moderate to, higher level, it's really apparent. It doesn't necessarily feed back, but like you touch this thing and it rings through the speaker. But for classic just Telecaster stuff, this is fantastic. And we have this one. This one, whenever I don't know what to play, and I didn't know what to play for this one, I wanted to play two things that were a little bit more soulful and meant more to me for this comparison here. I always play that rendition of Elvis that I play with my wife, and it's always been on this guitar. Because the neck pickup on this is, dare I say, better than the neck pickup on a Stratocaster. I played this guitar at my wedding. I played that song at our wedding, albeit in a more traditional manner, so the spotlight was on her, not on me, because it's never about you, the guitar player. It's about the singer. Man. If I had to pick a favorite, as they sit right now, I would pick the Jazzmaster. This has so much sentimental value to it, on top of just being truly an excellent guitar. And I complain about Fender USA, I feel somewhat excessively, but also at the same time pretty objectively and pretty fairly. They haven't made anything this good in a long time. This is perfect for a offset guitar. So maybe one day when that one has a little bit more emotional pull towards it, as far as favorite guitars go, it'll have a chance. But today, it's the American Vintage 65 Jazzmaster that moves on. So that leaves us with four. We have the Jazzmaster. We have the Gibson Custom Shop R9 Les Paul. We have the Fender JV Stratocaster ST57. And we have the 77 Albatross. That's it. Next video should come to a wrap on this. And obviously, as it gets further along, it becomes more and more difficult. This was one that I could have seen in the very final of it all. And had the bracket been different, it damn well may have been that way. But as things worked out, the luck of the draw, they had to go against each other this early on, and one had to go. But enough of this overly dramatic, silly little thing. It's funny, though, because this is what I love about guitars. To me, they're so much more than instruments. Some of them, if you hold on to them long enough and you actually do things with them. Because they bring you back to places that you played them, moments in your life where you wrote certain songs with them, with certain people, you performed, even if you just hung out and it was just in your house, and it's always just like meant something to you. And for a long time, that's what the JV Stratocaster was. And you can't buy that. You can buy a room full of guitars. You can buy a room full of amps, and they could all be, the top-end custom shop things. But the really valuable things are what make guitars cherished, at least to me, outside of them just being very, very excellent tools. Rant aside, rumbling aside, I should say. That's it for today. The updated bracket will be down below. Thank you for watching. I hope you tune into the final. Be next week. And then we'll move on to something else. Thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care, everybody.